Thursday evening, after 2 decades of marriage, my 39-year-old wife, Grace, the beautiful mother of our 2 daughters, and the woman I had dedicated my life to, dropped a bombshell. She casually told me that the next night she was going on a date with a colleague from work. Grace and I had gotten married young, barely out of our teens. Our relationship had been fast-paced. Less than a year after we met, she was pregnant with our first child. We were madly in love, and despite all the obstacles, we tied the knot. 7 months later, our daughter Emma was born. Our marriage always seemed to be built on love, and with the addition of our 2 wonderful daughters, who adored us both, I believed we had created something solid. I had worked relentlessly to grow my landscaping business from the ground up, turning it into a multi-million-dollar company that allowed us to live a comfortable and enviable life. I never could have imagined Grace would say something like this. Her words hit me like a punch to the gut. I sat there stunned, holding a glass of scotch, as she explained that she had been feeling depressed and unhappy ever since the girls left for university. To me, our life had seemed nearly perfect, so hearing her confession felt like a deep betrayal. She admitted that Ryan, a colleague from accounting, had been someone she confided in during her struggles, a revelation I had never expected. Grace had never mentioned being unhappy, let alone depressed. It stung to think that she had turned to another man to share her feelings. But the part that really cut me to the core was learning she wanted to go out with him. That was beyond what I could accept. To make it worse, Ryan wasn't just any colleague. He was a married man with 3 young daughters, acting like some fake therapist while taking advantage of vulnerable married women. He targeted women who felt disconnected, knowing they were easy to manipulate. Grace's voice was cold and unapologetic as she said, "William, I had to tell you the truth. I can't hide this anymore. I need to do this for myself. It might sound selfish," she continued, "but I need one night to see where it goes." I was furious inside, every part of me wanting to explode, but I knew Grace too well. Once her mind was made up, there was no point in trying to change it. I stared at her without speaking, while she nervously fidgeted on the couch. The silence between us was suffocating. I finished my drink, stood up, and walked out without a word. She followed me, still pleading. "William, don't ignore me. Stop sulking. This is happening, and I needed to tell you before it did. I'd never cheat on you behind your back," she added. I had to be honest. We've always been truthful with each other. I turned to face her, and whatever she saw in my expression made her pull back, curling up on the couch. Without saying anything, I went to our bedroom, packed a bag with a few clothes and toiletries, and left. As I walked toward the garage, she trailed behind me, still begging, "Please, William, don't go. It's just one night, one date after 20 years. "Surely you can give me that." I shook my head in disbelief and got into my car, driving away. That night, I checked into the Ritz-Carlton. At $100 a night, it wasn't cheap, but I figured if I had to suffer, I might as well do it in comfort. Grace's calls and texts started pouring in, but I sent her a brief response before blocking her number. I told her I wouldn't be in contact with her until I returned on Saturday. This was her betrayal, and now it was her problem to deal with. The next day I went to work and made sure my secretary blocked any calls from Grace. I also made sure security knew not to let her in. My plan was in motion, and there was no way I was going to let her derail it. For years, I had been known as reliable, someone who followed through, whether it was at work or with friends. At home, I'd always been the easygoing husband, keeping my temper in check. I thought treating Grace like royalty was the key to a happy marriage. But now, looking at the wreckage of our life, I realized I had been wrong. I remembered an old saying that used to make me laugh, "Treat her like a queen and she'll treat you like a servant." Those words now felt like a cruel prophecy. I wasn't ready to accept this as my new reality. That morning I called my brother, a detective in Miami, and laid out the situation for him. I asked for his help, and he quickly contacted Jameson Creighton, a private investigator. "Jameson," my brother said, "I need a favor for my brother. He needs someone to follow his wife tonight and gather everything on this guy by Saturday morning. We need his address, phone number, and any photos of them together." Jameson agreed right away. By the time Grace and Ryan sat down for their dinner that night, I had already set my next move into motion. I planned to visit Ryan's wife and tell her exactly what her husband had been up to and with whom. Before that, I made another call to an old friend, Austin. Austin had been through a tough divorce and had a rather unconventional way of coping. He used an escort service for companionship. While I had never considered anything like that before, his logic seemed oddly relatable now. It's simpler and cheaper than dealing with an unfaithful wife, Austin had said. I reached out to the service and arranged a night with an attractive blonde. I even added a $1,000 tip asking for a girlfriend experience where she'd act as if she was a loving, long-term partner. It wasn't the plan I'd ever expected to follow, but given the situation, I was willing to play the game on my terms. I made it clear to the escort that discretion was crucial. If Grace showed up unexpectedly, she was to act like we'd just met that night, not like this was an arranged encounter. In my mind, if Grace could go out with another man, she had to be prepared to see me doing the same, though I intended to handle it with a bit more class. The plan was simple. Meet at a hotel, enjoy some drinks, and engage in light, easy conversation before the night went on. Meanwhile, Grace was busy running her real estate business, hosting an open house that Saturday, just like any other weekend. She never came home before 6 p.m., and this weekend would be no different. Rewind to Thursday night after Grace had announced her plans for independence. She sat alone on the couch, seething with anger, muttering to herself. I can't believe he acted like such a child, storming out without saying a word. What a jerk. Frustrated by my silence, Grace kept calling and texting, growing more agitated as the hours passed. The only response she received was a single message: betrayal. That word made her pause for a moment, a brief flicker of guilt. She quickly brushed it aside, convincing herself that her evening with Ryan was just a harmless night out, not an affair. It's just one night of fun, she thought. William will get over it. Tomorrow I'll make it up to him. He can never stay mad at me. I know just how to win him back. When Friday night came, Grace returned to an empty house. She briefly considered canceling her plans, maybe calling me to come back, but the temptation of a thrilling night out was too strong to resist. She decided to move forward with her plans. After a long, relaxing bath, she shaved her legs and treated herself to her favorite scented lotion. Sitting at her vanity, she applied her makeup carefully, transforming herself into a vision of sultry elegance. She admired her reflection as she styled her long hair. Next, she pulled out a brand-new, daring dress. She smiled as she removed the tags, pairing it with stockings and a garter belt she had bought earlier that day, items she had never considered wearing for me. Adjusting the garter clips, she hesitated for a moment, a faint sense of guilt washing over her as she remembered the time I had bought her lingerie on Valentine's Day. I chose something from Victoria's Secret, but she harshly disapproved of my intentions, accusing me of seeing her as an easy woman. She had refused to wear it, but now, here she was, slipping into provocative clothes, but not for her husband. The guilt flickered again, but it was quickly pushed aside. This is for me, she told herself, rationalizing away any remaining unease. Once dressed, she stood in front of the full-length mirror, admiring her legs in sheer stockings and heels. The silk dress hugged her body, her chest pressing against the fabric in a way that she knew would catch attention. God, I look like a little girl, she thought, half smiling. But this is going to be so much fun. I can't wait to see Ryan's face. She convinced herself this was just a simple evening of dinner, drinks, and dancing, nothing more. But deep down, she could feel a surge of desire she had been pushing down for weeks. The excitement had been building, consuming her thoughts. Despite my behavior, which she saw as overdramatic, she was determined to enjoy the night. She was sure that I would forgive her, as I always did, and allow her this indulgence. After all, hadn't I always let her have her way? Just as she was about to leave, my phone call came. It was his last-ditch effort to save their marriage and stop Grace from making a huge mistake. Swallowing his pride, William dialed her number, ready to beg, even if it meant humiliating himself. The thought of saving their relationship outweighed everything else. When Grace saw William's name pop up on her phone, she felt a pang of guilt mixed with irritation. Part of her, though, wanted to hear his voice. She picked up, forcing herself to sound cheerful. "William, thank you for calling. I miss you so much and love you more than anything. When are you coming home, baby?" William's voice was thick with emotion. "Grace, I love you too, and that's why I'm calling. My heart is breaking over what you're planning. I'm begging you, don't do this. Please stay home. I'll come back, and we can fix whatever's wrong. I'll be whatever you need me to be. Just tell me what you want, and I'll make it happen. Please cancel this date. Don't throw everything away." Hearing the tremor in his voice, Grace felt a flicker of pity, but also a rush of power. His vulnerability reminded her of how deeply he loved her, and how much control she had over him. She knew he would forgive her, no matter what. The bond they shared, their children, and his unwavering love were assurances in her mind. William, she said softly, I love you so much, and I can't wait to spend the rest of my life with you, but I need to do this tonight. It's not about us. It's about me. Just one night to be impulsive, to do something for myself. You're overthinking this. It's just dinner and a few drinks with a friend. Nothing will happen. Tomorrow I'll come home and everything will be back to normal. Please understand and let me have this chance. William's voice cracked as he tried once more. Grace, please, I'm begging you. But Grace steeled herself, her resolve firm. I love you, William, but I have to go. She ended the call quickly, her hand trembling slightly as tears welled in her eyes. She wiped them away, determined not to ruin her makeup. She looked at herself in the mirror and whispered, He'll forgive me. He always does. After touching up her lipstick and spraying on her favorite perfume, Grace gave herself one final glance in the mirror. She adjusted her hair and pushed any thoughts of William out of her mind. Meanwhile, William sat on the edge of the bed in his hotel room, staring at his phone with simmering rage. The call with Grace had ended, leaving him more distraught than ever. He had poured his heart out, begging her not to go through with her date, only for her to dismiss him and promise that everything would be fine the next day. The grief of losing the only woman he had ever truly loved, the one he had spent the last 20 years with, crushed him. Across the street from their home, Jameson, the private investigator, sat in his white van, discreetly parked. Around 5 p.m., he saw Grace arrive and park in the driveway. An hour later, another car pulled in. Jameson quickly took note of the license plate, made a few calls, and within minutes had gathered all the details. By the time Grace and Ryan left the house, William and his brother Henry had Ryan's address, phone number, and background information. Inside Grace's house, Ryan immediately sensed her conflicted emotions. She was nervous, guilty, and uncertain. Ryan, experienced in handling hesitant women, wasted no time using his manipulative charm. Grace, it's okay, he said softly, his voice full of understanding. We don't have to go through with this. I understand if you're feeling unsure. Your husband's just trying to protect you from guys like me. If only he knew how much I respect and care about you as a friend, he added, sighing for effect. It's disappointing, but I get it. I was really looking forward to tonight. Grace hesitated, comforted by his seemingly casual demeanor. Sensing her uncertainty, Ryan pressed further. How about we just grab dinner? Nothing more, just two friends sharing a meal. I'll drop you off afterward. No pressure. His words melted her resistance. She convinced herself it was just dinner, nothing inappropriate, and after all, she was already dressed up. Deep down, she was eager for the attention and excitement. By 7 p.m., they were on their way to a trendy downtown restaurant. Jameson followed them, documenting every move. His updates were sent to William and Henry in real time. Over the next 4 hours, Jameson captured everything. Photos of Grace and Ryan holding hands as they entered a dance club, videos of them dancing closely, kissing, and even Ryan's hands exploring Grace's body as they swayed together. Ryan's touches grew bolder, his hand lingering on her backside, brushing against her chest, and venturing into more other places. By sunrise, Jameson had sent a full dossier of evidence. At exactly 8 p.m., William picked up his phone and called Marvin, a man he had once considered a close friend. Breaking. The news was difficult, but William knew it was necessary. He took a deep breath and called Marvin, his voice heavy with emotion. It's William, he started. William, are we still on for golf this Sunday? Marvin asked, sounding cheerful. I don't know, Marvin. I've got some bad news, William replied, bracing himself for what he had to say. What's going on? Marvin's tone shifted immediately to concern. William sighed deeply. Right now, your daughter is out on a date with a coworker. I thought our marriage was solid, but she told me she needed something more. I just wanted you to know because I respect you and Margaret, but I can't forgive this. She's breached our prenup, and as far as I'm concerned, our marriage is over. Marvin sounded stunned. Are you sure, William? This doesn't sound like Grace. William's voice hardened. I'm certain, Marvin. I've hired a private investigator who's watching them right now. I've seen the photos and videos. She's betrayed me, our marriage, and our kids. I thought you should know. I don't know what to say, Marvin stammered. I'm so sorry, William. Please don't act rashly. Maybe there's still a chance to fix this. I'm done, Marvin. I'm sorry. I'll call you later. William ended the call, feeling a mix of sadness and relief, knowing he had taken a step toward closure. With Ryan's address in hand, he drove 20 minutes to confront the other woman's husband. When Abigail, Ryan's wife, answered the door, she was dressed in tight jeans and a lacy top that accentuated her curves. William took a deep breath, forcing himself to stay calm. "Are you Mrs. Flanagan?" he asked, his voice steady. "Yes, is everything okay?" Abigail responded, puzzled. "Your husband works with my wife. May I come in for a moment?" Inside, William delivered the heartbreaking news. "Mrs. Flanagan, I'm sorry to tell you, but your husband is currently on a date with my wife. She told me she felt indebted to Ryan and decided to repay him. I have photos and videos to prove it." Abigail's face went pale. "Are you certain? My Ryan always spends Friday nights playing cards." William nodded grimly. "I wouldn't be here if I wasn't certain. My investigator is documenting everything as we speak. I thought you deserved to know." Leaving Abigail in tears, William headed back to his hotel. He tried to relax, sipping on a specialty coffee from the hotel, but peace was impossible to find. He opened the investigator's photos and videos. Seeing Grace kiss Ryan and let his hands roam her body shattered him completely. The stockings Grace wore, the same ones he had bought her months ago and she had rejected, felt like the final blow. The betrayal was unbearable. William shouted into the empty room, "You're going to pay for this!" His love for Grace had turned into a simmering rage. By Saturday afternoon, William was ready to carry out his own plan. He met Candy, a stunning young woman, at the hotel and spent 2 hours with her. Candy was everything he had requested, attentive, warm, and playing her role perfectly. They returned to the house just after 4 p.m. By 5 p.m., William and Candy were in bed together. Before joining her, William carefully placed a note he had written for Grace on the front door. It read, "Grace, last night you broke the sacred bond of our marriage vows and shattered my heart. By doing so, you also voided the marriage contract we shared. Legally, we are still married, but as far as I'm concerned, our relationship is over. We are now free to live as we please. I will be taking the master bedroom in this house. As it is my home, you may use any other room, but my bed is no longer yours. Your belongings have been moved to the guest room. You wanted freedom, and now you have it. I hope you're satisfied with your choices and the life you've chosen. Love, your ex-husband, William." Beneath the note, he placed his wedding ring. Using one of his collector knives, he slashed through the letter and the ring before stabbing the knife into the wooden door. It was the first thing Grace would see when she came home. When Grace returned from work at 6:10 p.m., the sight of the knife embedded in the door stopped her in her tracks. The chilling image filled her with dread. She slowly approached, scanning for anything else that might be out of place. As she neared the door, her eyes fell on the note addressed to her, with William's wedding ring prominently displayed. Her hands trembled as tears began to fall, and she clutched the torn note and the ruined ring. Grace stumbled into the house, calling out desperately for William. Her sobs echoed through the empty, dark hallway. Hearing muffled sounds upstairs, she followed them, her steps hesitant but driven by rising anger. She paused outside the master bedroom, pressing her ear to the door. The noises became unmistakable. Swinging the door open, she saw a young, attractive woman tangled in the sheets with William. Grace stood frozen in stunned silence, taking in the shocking scene before her. Finally, fury overtook her, and she screamed, "How could you, you bastard!" before running out of the house, tears streaming down her face as she drove to her sister Margaret's home. Once there, Grace broke down, telling Margaret everything. "I caught William in bed with another woman. I don't know where else to go," she sobbed. Margaret listened sympathetically, though she was visibly taken aback. "William? Of all people? He's always been so devoted to you. He treated you better than any man I know, better than most husbands would. Are you sure there's not more to this? Did something happen to set him off?" Through her tears, Grace admitted, "I went on a date last night with someone from work. Just dinner and a little dancing, that's all." Margaret's face hardened. "Wait, you went on a date? You left your husband home alone while you had dinner and danced with another man? Are you serious?" "It wasn't like that," Grace tried to explain. "You're making it sound worse than it was." Margaret shook her head in disbelief. "Grace, do you have any idea how disrespectful that is? Did you honestly think William would be okay with it? You really messed up. You've jeopardized your marriage because of your selfishness." "I told him it's just fun," Grace whispered, her voice cracking. "Grace," Margaret said firmly, "you need to go home tomorrow and try to fix this, but you'd better prepare for the possibility that it's too late. I'll call William and see if he's willing to talk, but don't expect miracles." That night, Grace cried herself to sleep in Margaret's guest room, barely managing to close her eyes. The next morning, Margaret texted William, asking him to call. William, who had always been fond of Margaret, returned her call promptly. "How's it going?" he greeted casually. I know you're furious, and I don't blame you at all, but Grace is here, and she's devastated. You made your point, but maybe you two should talk. She's clearly messed up, but if she hasn't gone too far, there might still be something to salvage. William chuckled bitterly. Margaret, you know me. I don't tolerate nonsense, but sure, she can come back and talk. It's still her house. I didn't kick her out, I just set boundaries. My anger has cooled, but it's been replaced by resentment. I'll listen, but I can't promise anything. Right now, I hate her as much as I once loved her. Margaret sighed. I understand. Just be patient. She loves you, even if she doesn't deserve you. I'll let her know. That Sunday afternoon, William returned home from the gym to find Grace sitting at the kitchen table, trying to appear composed. We're not getting divorced, she said with a forced smile. We can work through this because we love each other. William poured himself a coffee and sat across from her in silence. After a few sips, he finally spoke. Grace, I've made peace with whatever happens. Divorce or not doesn't matter to me anymore. You broke the trust in our marriage, and I can't see us as a couple anymore. We'll live under the same roof, but that's where it ends. You won't be in my bed again. Grace's face crumpled. William, he's not my boyfriend. Nothing happened. William's tone hardened. Grace, you went out with another man. You dressed up for him, had dinner, danced, let him touch you, and kissed him. To you, it might feel small. To me, it's everything. That's what ended our marriage. But I don't want a divorce, Grace insisted. Give me time and I'll win you back. Are you done with that woman, or is she still in the picture? William laughed coldly. Now that's funny. You broke our vows, not me. You ended this marriage when you left with him. Candy is young, beautiful, fun, and an amazing lover. I'm not giving her up. Honestly, Grace, being with Candy, we've done things I never even dreamed of doing with you. Grace's heart sank as William's words pierced through her like a knife. Now that I know what I was missing, why would I give that up? His voice was cold, emotionless. Oh, and while you were out enjoying your date, I paid a visit to Ryan's wife, Abigail. Grace's shock grew as William continued. Did you know they have 3 beautiful kids? Of course, you didn't think about that while you were with him, did you? Her expression shifted from confusion to utter disbelief as William dropped the bombshell. Here's the kicker, though. Abigail told me you're not the first. You're the 3rd woman Ryan's cheated on her with in the past year. The last one, Rebecca Hogarth from your office, caused her own divorce after their little fling. Apparently this is Ryan's pattern. Find a vulnerable woman, charm her, and destroy her life. Abigail believes once a cheater, always a cheater. Honestly, you fit right into his category now. Grace's face crumpled as the weight of William's words sank in. Her mind raced, the realization that Ryan was not the man she had imagined hitting her like a freight train. Anger turned inward, and the disgust at her own actions was written all over her face. William, he's not my boyfriend. Stop saying that, she yelled, her voice tinged with panic. I can't believe you went to his wife's house and told her everything. My God, it was just dinner. William laughed bitterly, his anger not fading. Cruel? Spiteful? Let me ask you this. How do you define what you did? Loving, caring, respectful? You seem to forget that just dinner turned into dancing, touching, kissing, and betraying your husband. I promised Abigail all the photos and videos from that night. She deserves the truth when Ryan tries to downplay it. You think this isn't cheating? In the real world, Grace, it's exactly that. You betrayed your marriage and me. I can't believe this, Grace said, her voice cracking with the realization of her mistakes. You're the one bringing other women into our home. That's inexcusable. William's eyes narrowed. You're not in a position to lecture me, Grace. You're the one who walked away from our vows. And no, I'm not giving up Candy. She gives me things I never knew I was missing. If you can't handle it, you're free to leave. Maybe Ryan has room for you in his studio apartment? Her face twisted in disbelief. You can't be serious. Don't you love me? Don't you want us to be together again? William sighed deeply, his voice colder than ever. Grace, love and trust go hand in hand. Do I still love you? Sure, but how can I trust or love someone who so easily turned their back on our marriage? No man should tolerate his wife being with another man, but you didn't care. You made your choice. Now you have to deal with the consequences. Grace's voice trembled, begging for a second chance. Please, William, I'll do anything. I'll prove my love to you. William shook his head, unmoved. You already proved what you're capable of, Grace. We can live as housemates, or you can file for divorce. The choice is yours, but don't expect things to ever go back to the way they were. For the next month, William continued to bring Candy home every weekend. Their encounters were frequent, unapologetic, and full of revenge. Grace, devastated, would leave the house every time Candy arrived, unable to bear the sight of her husband with another woman. She would return only after Candy had left, her face a mixture of pain and humiliation. One Sunday evening, Grace returned home and pleaded with William, her voice breaking. "You've punished me enough, William. Every week I've had to watch you bring another woman into our home. It's unbearable. Please, give me another chance." William looked at her with cold detachment. "Love, you don't know the meaning of the word. If you did, you wouldn't have turned your back on me. But I'll tell you what, I'll stop seeing other women for now. On one condition. We go to counseling." Grace clung to him desperately, tears streaming down her face. "Thank you, William. I promise I'll make it up to you." William raised a hand, silencing her. "Don't celebrate just yet. I'm not forgiving you, and I'm not forgetting what you did. Counseling is your last chance." Over the next 3 months, they attended therapy with Dr. Atwood. The process was grueling for both of them. William was forced to relive Grace's betrayal repeatedly, each session reopening wounds he had desperately wanted to heal. Grace struggled to face the enormity of the pain she had caused, and although she complained about William's revenge, he reminded her that she had broken their prenup. "You gave me a free pass, Grace," he said flatly. "Be grateful I didn't do worse." Eventually, they came to an agreement. Grace signed a post-nuptial contract forfeiting everything if she ever had another affair. She also allowed William access to her phone, email, and text messages, and agreed to wear a GPS tracker. It was humiliating, but she accepted it as penance. Despite her efforts to rebuild trust, William couldn't shake Abigail's words. Once a cheater, always a cheater. Though life slowly returned to a semblance of normalcy, William kept a watchful eye on Grace. Her sister Margaret even became an ally, helping ensure Grace stayed on track. As for Ryan, his life crumbled. His wife, Abigail, divorced him, taking the house and securing alimony and child support for their 3 kids. Ryan, left penniless, moved into a tiny studio apartment, a shadow of the man he once was. All his losses came from a few dinners, dances, and stolen kisses. What a fool, William thought bitterly. Grace, mortified by Ryan's history of infidelity, realized how close she had come to destroying her own family. The consequences were a sobering reminder of the cost of betrayal. She vowed never to make the same mistake again, though she couldn't erase the damage she had done. 2 years later, William still carried the scars of Grace's betrayal. "Not one scar on my heart came from an enemy," he reflected bitterly. "They all came from people who said they loved me.